Welcome to the Becoming a Streamer podcast by Pipeline, where we sit down and interview your favorite streamers to learn more about how they got to where they're at today. I'm your host, co-founder of Pipeline, Stone Mountain 64, and today we are joined by Fugglet, full-time content creator. He got his start on YouTube a few years back with PUBG. Now he's almost at 500,000 subscribers there. He's also currently a Twitch partner, closing in on 100,000 follows there. If you've seen his tip videos, he has some incredible challenges that he's accomplished, and he really has an eye for content and what people want to see. If you want to check it out yourself, you can find him at youtube.com/FuggletTV. That's FUGGLET TV. And without further ado, enjoy this episode and this awesome interview. Awesome. Fugglet, man, it's great to have you on. Thanks for joining on the podcast.
Hello.
Before we get too deep into everything, I kind of want to get an intro to where you're at now. Like, you know, where you're streaming, what you're making content on, what games are you playing, where are you at with your content right now?
I am a little bit in a transition to find a new game that I prefer to play. Right now, I'm sitting a lot on Tarkov to try to push into that market. I've had a little bit of a break here because I've been in the process of moving to the US. So there's been a lot going on. But the transition from PUBG to literally any other game that's fun, especially now that I've added bots to the game. So it's been a bit of a journey, but I feel like I'm settling in with Tarkov and then a little bit of Warzone here and there, but I'm definitely still trying to find a new home to call my main game.
Yeah. And I mean, have you still been doing a lot of PUBG content in general with that? Because I know that's kind of where you got some more roots, and we can get into that, but
I have not posted, I think, a PUBG video has been maybe a couple of months ago. Like it's been a bit of a letdown for my community, but at the same time, there's not really a whole lot of content in the game. I was going to stream it today because there is a new big patch, but just scrolling through my previous videos, it's all Tarkov, Warzone, 4 months ago is the last PUBG video. So I feel like I'm in a new chapter of my whole streaming career.
That's awesome. And how long have you been creating content?
I started in, I think it was mid 2017. I was studying for my bachelor in web development, and I saw this post on Reddit about this new PUBG game coming out. I played a lot of BR in Arma. That was awesome. I love the mod that PlayerUnknown made for that game. And I was like, I was a little bit skeptical about PUBG, so I didn't think much of it. I was like, nah, I'm not going to be playing that. Screw it. It's not worth my time. Turns out a little bit later, it drops out, and my friend's like, it's actually pretty fun. And I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. I saw Aculite on YouTube. He was pumping out content. He was at 400,000 subscribers or something like that, maybe. And I was like, you know what? What's the one thing that people want to watch? And first, I tried a couple of gameplay videos that didn't really pan out to be anything. Like, there's got to be something. I sat and thought a little bit about it, and I was like, tips and tricks. That's the golden ticket. So I made this 50 or 20 tips and tricks for PUBG, and it took off. And then after that, I played the Hitman challenge. I somehow managed to one-shot that challenge. And
really? You one-shotted that?
One-shot it. And it took my channel to a whole new place. It was like I saw different small articles and little gaming websites and whatnot.
And what was the Hitman challenge for anybody who didn't see it?
I basically played a round of PUBG with just a pistol, and I won with, I think it was 8 kills or something. No body armor, no nothing. I just got extremely lucky. So I kind of got a little bit of a free ticket to the views on PUBG for that one.
Well, that was the first video that I remember I saw from you. And
a lot of people that I ask how they found my channel is still the Hitman challenge.
Yeah. Well, it was an insane challenge, and it's such an insane game. Like, it was an interesting approach to it. But you actually did a top 20 tips and tricks for PUBG even before that.
Yeah, I did that, and that one. Ooh, how much did that? Let's see if I can find it real quick. I got my videos right here.
I know yeah.
44 tips and tricks. That's at 170K views now, but back in the early days, I think it jumped up to maybe First, it was like a couple of hundred views and went to, I think it ended around 20K. And I was like, oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
this could be popping. And I was like, that got me hooked right there. Just seeing anyone like or watch my video was just something that I did not expect. Before that, I had a couple of gaming videos with a couple of friends. As said, they got no views, right? Because it's so
Sure.
hard to just break through on YouTube with a gameplay video unless you have something completely unique.
And
And then,
tell me
huh?
about before you kind of even got into doing the tips and tricks and like starting to explore some of that. You were in school at the time, right?
Yeah.
Did you end up continuing on with the school, or I mean, was that something that, because it wasn't like you were studying for creating content, more or less, right? Like, what were you doing before you got into all of this stuff?
So it was at the end of my bachelor's degree in web development, which gives me a little bit of tools to work with when it comes to video editing, picture editing, and stuff like that. But it
Hmm.
was right towards the end with all the exams and all that. So it's kind of like, got to focus a little bit to make sure the school is all set. So I continued to work. I had a part-time job to support my rental and all that to study. And as soon as I finished out, I did good on my grades, did good and all that. I was like, all right, this is it. This is the time that I get to go all in. It's either this, or you go out and you get like a job at a web development company, whatever skis, right? So I tried to push on it, and it turned out it was a pretty good push. It worked.
Was that like, did you start creating content while you were in school, and then it was like, oh, I
Yeah.
want to give this a shot now that you're graduated, I assume?
Yeah, I started and I saw that I got a little bit of wind, and from that point on, it was just, I mean, once you get the first couple of views, you're
Yeah.
hooked, right? It's like, all right, I can beat that. I can get more views. It's just like it's a drug, YouTube for sure.
And when you went kind of like after school, were you still doing that part-time job as well while you're creating content, or was it just like, I'm
I
going
did it
going for this?
for I think I did it for a month after until I found a new place to live to, which at the time being I had like, I had like 5 megs of upload, which, if you upload a video that's like 10 gigs, that's gonna take a year, right? So I found a
Yeah.
place with fiber optics, and all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just do it. I'm gonna go all in. I'm gonna move over here and I'm gonna quit the job. I'm just it's gonna work. Because financially the numbers were matching on YouTube. Like, what's the worst that can happen, right? So I went over, rented that place, had good internet, and then just continued the little bit of money I made that I had to spare. I invested in new gear, new monitor, mic, all that. I remember in the very beginning when I made my first video and I thought this could be fun. I was sitting on a 670 graphics card, which was complete garbo. I had maybe 40 FPS in PUBG and it was just not playable. And I was broke at the time. So I paid off a 10, was it a 1070 or something graphics card, or 970? I was at 1070, I think. And I had that like amount of money at that time because I was paying rent, I was paying for food and all that, and it wasn't cheap. So it paid it off, and it paid off to paid off. That's like the one thing that I don't like is paying stuff off. Not even cars or anything like that. I've always like save up and then buy it when you have the money available for it. But at that time, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna gamble this one time, see if it could work out. It was just like that one little
Mm.
ticket to creating videos that look good too and were watchable.
And
So
that was you basically just investing in the card so you can make more content then.
exactly. And then after that, then I started making money, right? Because I got some use, and then I could upgrade my setup slowly. It was a new monitor, new PC. Those things came slowly, and it's just that process of it's a nice process to be rewarded with like new stuff for your equipment because you're like, ooh, this is much fancier than now. And now I got all these porn lights in the background and whatnot. So, you know, it's
And
a good feeling.
when you go into that though, and like you're thinking about creating content, and did you said you kind of doing some videos with your friends and whatnot? Was it more of like I mean, obviously, like you made a tips and tricks video. To me, that seems like you're making more of a conscious effort to like, okay, I'm going to try and
Hmm.
form and have more of a content strategy, try and build something around PUBG here. Was that kind of your intention as you were going into creating the content for that and like doing the challenge? Or
Yeah, I saw how like tips and tricks videos did in general. And I was like, I always like wanted to do like streaming or YouTube, right? But it was always like and there's no way I can do that. It's the 1%, right? And I never really believed in myself, which is the number one mistake. If you want to do something, do it, and don't have an excuse for it. But I, I, so I did consciously go into the tips and tricks video and say I can get views on this. If I do like a line, the tips gotta come quick, 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 and that's always been my thing with tips and tricks videos. No like 5-minute intro about this and that. They just come one by one by one by one, and people enjoyed that. And I was like, yep, that's it right there. That's the golden recipe. A lot of information in their face, and just keep sending it. And so I did. I put out some. Then I started with some analysis for tips and tricks, cars and bikes, myth busting, how to aim long range in PUBG. I had all these like movement analysis videos and whatnot coming out in PUBG at that time, and they boosted me up to that point where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a shot to do some gameplay videos too. And that was kind of where my channel took its second turn when it went for just tips and tricks info videos like Wacky Jackie style over into the more gameplay area. At that point in time, I think Tom reached out to me, and I played with Tom first, and then Aculite, and then I met you through them too. And then I was just set for like, all right, I have people to play with. Now I can have some good old fun content too, and not just like crunching the numbers all the way. But it took a turn for my channel, and I enjoyed not only working hard on like numbers, infos, tips and tricks and all of that, but also just casually playing and being able to make content out of that. That was a whole new area for me. So that was really exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that's something that I always know. I even check your videos as soon as a new game is out because you're so fast to do so many tips. It's like, and then you'll do like 50 or 100, right? Like, and so, and that's always been really cool to see, is kind of how, you're transferring some of these same formats and structures that your audience likes, that people like in general, and introducing that to similar games as well. And so, I mean, like, how has that been for you as you have kind of transition games? You mentioned at the beginning of this, you're trying to figure out a couple new games even now. Has that been helpful for it? Like, how has that been like for you?
I think it's been helpful to have those go-to recipes for videos, but I've also been in the last like 6 months, I've been very patched with like moving over to the States and all that, getting all that settled. So I've worked a little bit harder on making that work, whether it's like maintain the focus on YouTube too, which has been a little bit of a mistake, but the recipes for the videos that I take over, like, so they're top-notch bangers. I saw with Warzone, I was like, am I going to do 100 tips and tricks video for it? And then I came into it a little bit late, and already that I was being recommended like these other 100 tips and tricks videos. One of them came out like a day after the game was out, and I was like, well, what are you doing? How do you know already 100 tips and tricks? I was just like, heck it, I'm going to let that game slide and do the next one that comes out.
Sure.
But yeah, like the 100 tips and tricks, I think has been the go-to recipe that I knew was like, it takes a buttload of time. People really appreciate it, and they always do well. Like the Fortnite, I had reached 10 million views. And like, that's a video that I'm probably never going to top in views. Like 10 million is
that's an extraordinary amount of views, man.
It's like the one golden boy in the books, and then at the same time, when people would check your YouTube channel, they see, what's the most popular on this channel? Ooh, Fortnite. Yeah. So it's kind of up and down, but it's a cool one to have in the books for sure.
No, that's awesome. And you never know, man. You never know when you can get another one to swing out of the park, and especially another game comes out. But when you're coming into, you kind of started with video then, I take it. So when did you kind of start getting into streaming? Because I know you've been streaming a lot as well, streaming over on Twitch. Did you ever try YouTube as well? Or like, how has that been like for you?
I never streamed on YouTube. I had like, in the beginning, I was just like, I'm going to keep YouTube for videos only, and that's it. And I knew Twitch was popular for streaming, so I decided to give it a whirl. I don't remember when I did it. It took a little bit of time for me. I think I was maybe at pushing towards 100,000 subscribers on YouTube before I made the jump to stream for the first time.
Wow.
But yeah, because already then I reached the goal or the requirement to become a partner on Twitch. So I was like, ooh, I can get instant partnership, blah, blah, blah. Because I had a amount of viewers, but then I wrote the guys and they were like, no, man, you got to at least stream for like this amount of days and 30 days before we're going to let you in. was like, all right, well, that makes sense.
And
And it was just is a whole new chapter two in the book is streaming, because when you've just been doing YouTube, like there's so much more you can do with what you have. It's like when then you open up streaming, it's like, oh wow, you can do this live too. And then at the same time you can get content footage while you're streaming and then edit the video later on from that stream too. And you're like doing two things at once, right? Or take highlights, whatever. It's to fully maximize the potential of the content you can have, it takes a lot of practice. And I know that's one thing that you do really good, because like you have a team built up around posting the content and getting like things done,
sure.
where you can take a lot and learn from that, because it can get very overwhelming if you're sitting alone trying to do everything yourself, right? And I mean, you know that too, because you've done the switch to do some smarter choices when it comes to content management.
Yeah, no, it's a huge thing to try and manage, especially if you're trying to manage multiple platforms. You
Mm-hmm.
know, if you're coming for, there's a lot of people that I've spoken to that kind of come from YouTube side and then get into streaming, and then there's a lot of and that's hard in its own right. And then there's a lot of guys that I talk to that come from streaming and then they're trying to get into YouTube, and that's hard
Yeah.
in its own right too. It's a very different skill, and so I guess like even for you coming over to getting into streaming, you know, you mentioned that it is a very different even feeling doing it. Like, was that an easy transition for you to go live? Was it something you weren't comfortable with? Because even for your content, and for a while, you didn't have a face cam either, right? Like, was
Yeah,
that
at the
something that took
beginning,
a while?
yeah, at the beginning, I didn't have. I think I didn't have a face cam for like until maybe 6 months ago or something. So it wasn't really an issue for me at the beginning. It was just like, playing games. Like nobody could see me. I could just chill. I could sit butt naked in my room, play games, right? But um, I'm sure, like looking back, I can't remember, but I'm sure I was nervous as heck the first time I went live. I mean, who wouldn't be? It's different playing in front of maybe, let's say, maybe 100 viewers the first time than like just playing alone in your room. So
Well,
it probably was a hard transition, but I don't remember it very clearly at this point.
do you think it's something you're still like? It's fun, or it's fine going live in front of a whole bunch of people now, versus like even uploading a video that's going to go out to 10, 20, 100,000 people or whatever it might be. Like, do you feel any difference in that?
No, I feel like I've settled quite good in with it. Like everything feels like normal routine now.
Yeah.
Like it's just hanging with the guys when I'm playing games. Like even Twitch chat, however many people are hanging out, it's just like it feels like hanging with friends at this point, because it's like you see a lot of the messages are just they're just messages. There's nobody like screaming at you or anything. I mean, unless you mess up in Tarkov and die, which I've done a couple of times. But in general, like people are just having a good time with you playing the game. And once you get that into your head, I think it's a lot easier to stream. Like I remember one of the things I struggled with in the beginning was that I was like watching Shroud, all these people's like, I have to perform if I want to stream, right? I can't play bad.
Hmm.
But then after a while, it's like, so if you play bad, if you have a bad day of playing, like you can still get content out of it. Just be yourself. Don't be a rager. Don't be like mad about it. Just, have fun, talk. Like it's you just gotta have the right mindset for streaming, I think, when it comes to like off days too.
When do you think you kind of, I mean, I think there's quite a few examples of that can happen for sure. You know, people not being the best or whatever. I guess, was there like a moment that you realized that, or was it something that just kind of like as you kept doing it, you started to realize it more?
I think I had days early on where I got frustrated with streaming. I was like, it started to become more stressful for me, because I was like, because my YouTube videos has always been like good games, right? You can
Mm,
play 99 bad games and then have one good game posted on YouTube, and people
yeah,
will think you're the best in the world, right? Which is not the case. But then when you go streaming and your videos have been pretty skill based and not as much comedy or anything, then the table turn a little bit. It's like you feel like this pressure on your shoulders is like you got to perform as you do in your videos, because otherwise people will think you are a fraud or anything, something like that. But
mm,
then after a while of like thinking like that, being able to turn it around into like that's not the case in regards to my viewers will still hang out even if I suck for a day or lose a couple of games, as long as it's not stressing myself out.
sure.
It's kind of like a hard thing to explain, I guess, but it's just like getting in the right mindset of not getting mad at the game, but learning that it's not only about winning, but also just about hanging out with the people coming to watch you play.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the people that are there, I think that's obviously a huge support, and the messages they'll send and everything there too. But I'm curious, on the other side of it, like, how has your friends or your family or any of that been as you've been down this road too? Because I know that's something that it can definitely go either way with many people. So I mean, even just explaining that in the first place, like, how has that support been for you from them?
I remember telling my mom and dad the first time that YouTube was a thing. And I didn't tell them until I could show like financially that
Mm,
YouTube can bring in an income, right? And so I showed them, they were like, "Oh, you have nothing to lose by doing it. So do it, see where it can take you."
mm,
And my mom actually works with like financial stuff. So she's been helping me with the financial stuff for free through this entire time, which has been nice up until the day now that I'm moving to the US and have to figure out like stuff to do myself now, right? When it comes to that, like filing taxes, all that, it's going to be very different. But the support has been, it's been amazing. Like friends been cool about it. There hasn't been anything like weird or anything like that. Like family, I've always had a very, very supportive family. Like when it comes to anything, as long as you're being honest about it, there's no harm, no foul, right? Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. There's not been anything bad in that regards. It's all been a dream, like as good as it could have been,
and
for
you're
sure.
you're originally from Denmark, correct?
Yes.
And so, like, I don't know, like, is it even as popular of a thing in Denmark in general? Like, was that something that was like completely like, wait, what? Or I feel like now it is, especially, you've been doing it for a few
Yeah.
years. At least in the last few years, it has been something that's like, oh yeah, this is kind of more of a thing now.
I remember in Denmark at that time, it was kind of on the uprise.
Mhm.
I had a couple of Danish streamers that I knew, and like I remember what kind of view account they were at. I think they were like maybe 400. Now some of the guys are like a couple of thousand views, which is a huge growth compared to what Danish like gaming channels were at that time.
Yeah.
YouTube channels too are a lot bigger too. The Danish channels, because I remember back then I was like, I'm not gonna make a Danish channel. Like I want to, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do like the big deal,
Mm.
the full reach. But now Danish channels are like doing humongous stuff, like really good. And one of the things is one of the things you can tell by it is that the Danish tax like state, whatever the heck, I've always been really far behind when it comes to like internet stuff and all that. But now they've finally cranked down on like people doing sponsorship deals like under the table and getting a
Mm.
huge go watch or whatever, promoting YouTube videos without paying taxes on anything. They've come around to crack down on that, and that's when it is popular in Denmark too. Is when the government want their piece of the cake.
Oh, that's
For sure.
good. And so now for you though, like, what does a typical day look like? Like, you're doing this full time. Is this something that's like all encompassing? Do you space yourself out? How have you been with taking it on full time?
It's been a little bit of a change now that I'm in the US. I'm also a dad
Yeah.
now, for those that don't know that. So it's like today, I think I had maybe 4 hours of sleep before it was up for the interview. But usually it goes with like streaming in the morning. When the schedule is on lockdown, streaming in the morning, and then during the day, I hang with the fam, all that jazz. And then in the evening, when all the kids are settled and all that, I can go to editing and sit down with that without too much disturbance, except for when the baby wants to poo on you or anything like that. But in general, it's like we found a pretty good structure for everything, and it works. It works. I was a little bit scared about it moving over here, whether we could make it work or what, because I've been used to like waking up on PC, just sit here the entire day until like I could watch 2 hours of Netflix before I got started or anything. But now it's like I feel more of a pressure to like get things rolling, which is really
Mm.
nice because it's like it forces you to be on your feet and get the ball rolling. Whereas in Denmark, when you don't have any responsibilities, you're just you. I was a little bit bad about not pushing through with getting the work done for sure.
Mm.
So it's been a good turn of events when it comes to it comes to that for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's just also, you're just doing everything on your own. It's
Yeah.
like you got to hold yourself accountable as you kind of go through a lot of it.
Exactly.
And I mean, imagine that, or I imagine at least when you're doing school, the other job, trying to create some content. I mean, were you on a more regular, like, I'm going to try and do a few videos every single week when you were first starting out? Or was it just kind of like just throwing some stuff out and seeing what happens?
It was definitely just throwing some stuff out. I had right when my channel was popping, I had a family wedding in the US, funny enough, that I had to go to, and we were going to be gone with a family for like 3 or 4 weeks. And I was like, oh shoot, man, this is like the crucial time. My channel's getting views. So I sat down and just for like I had a keg of Monster poured down my throat. I was just going ham on the challenges. I think I finished like 6 challenge videos, anything at the like scheduled to release while I was gone and all that. So it was
Wow.
definitely after that too. It was just as soon as I had any content ready, push it out. There weren't any waiting. It was just out, go, 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 go. Whereas today it's more like, all right, if I can finish two awesome videos here in the next couple of days, I might spread them out a little bit so it gives me a little bit of workspace for the third video coming after that, so I don't leave a huge gap between
Yeah.
the videos, right? Whereas in the beginning, you're just like, views, man, people, subscribers, pump the content out, get it out there. You learn a lot as you go along with it too, which is great. It's awesome.
But even early on, you're already making sure that you have content going and you're not, leaving a month
Yeah.
or 2 months without missing anything. So you are keeping consistent as you're kind of starting out with this even.
Yeah, that was more like when the drug kind of kicked in. It's like the views, right? It's like, all right, well, this is awesome, and I don't want to lose this now that I finally have a chance at it. So I worked super hard to knowing that I was going to be away and not be able to game for like was it 3 weeks maybe. So I had to get that like I had to get the what's it called, the videos ready
Yeah.
before leaving, which was a relief because then I could check in. I remember like waiting for the hotel lobby Wi-Fi to go check my analytics, see how the new videos were performing, and all that. And I think I've always been really fascinated by the number side of things too, where in the analytics you get so many tools to see like the people watching your videos.
Yeah.
Like there's so many numbers to look at, and I just find that fascinating to dig into too. So sometimes when you just sit down and watch like one of your videos and see the amount of views it has, and you're just kind of like, wow, that's a lot of freaking views, right? Like it is because the ad revenue on YouTube doesn't really add up to that. When you see something with 100K views, you imagine that that person's paid like thousands of dollars, like 100,000 views. That's insane, right? But that's not the reality. So you kind of reflect on like the money made, like that is not that much views, right? Even though it is a ridiculous amount of views, like having 100,000 views on one video is insane. Like it's mind blowing. Even 10,000 is
Yeah.
it's crazy. It's I could go on about that.
Yeah, no, definitely it is. Even like you look at like the minutes watched or the hours watched or anything, it's like,
Yes, I remember that in the
whoa.
beginning too. It was like when I had my first year watched, I was like, I stole a year of somebody's life watching my videos. No, it's just it's crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, as you're going through this, obviously you've learned a lot through it. Is there anything that kind of stands out for you, over your years of doing this? It's like, oh, I kind of wish I knew this, or maybe just like advice that you'd give to other creators in general.
Um, I think one thing that I personally still like kind of struggle a little bit with, but that I'm learning to get better with is like reach out to people that you want to play with. Like I think that's something that every content creator might have been through is like when you want to play with someone, how do you reach out to them, right? Because in the beginning, I didn't play with anyone. I didn't know how to reach out to people. I felt like I was being like greedy for views or anything by like if I were to ask someone to
Mhm.
play with me that did the same thing as I did. If it wasn't for Tom, I'd probably still be like that way. But now I've started to like slowly reach out to people that I see like doing awesome content too and see, hey, you want to play some games at some point and get some games going. Whereas in like beginning, I was very afraid to make that step because it made me hurt. Is there something in our heads, some of us, that's like it makes you feel like you're greedy or something, like that you're trying to benefit from something, even though you just want to like game some with some more people that do the same thing as you, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's the number one thing that I've learned from is like don't let that decide anything. Like, it doesn't matter if they're big or small, and you just ask. Like, if you want to play with someone, ask. What's the worst thing that happen? They say no. So what? Like, there's thousands of creators out there to play with, choose from. So
Yeah,
networking is key.
You never know where the content can lead, and
Exactly.
sometimes there's some really fun collaborations that can definitely happen.
Just like at the Fast Squad.
Exactly.
Team kills and fall damage.
Everybody loves it, dude. It's incredible. But awesome, man. Hey, thank you so much for joining in. If people want to find you, what is the best place to go?
YouTube.com/Fugglet TV. Search YouTube or search Fugglet on TV. Or holy crap, search Fugglet on YouTube. I haven't slept a whole lot this night, so there you go. Definitely
Awesome,
YouTube.
Man. Awesome. Hey, and if you guys enjoyed and you want to listen to some more podcasts as well like this, you can find them at pipeline.gg/podcast. Thanks so much for joining in, man. I absolutely love it. I'm excited to see where you keep going with everything.
Thank you for having me.